Sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and could even keep you from the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS. Welcome to No BS Sales School. I'm your host, Walker McKay. I want to talk to you today about a fundamental thing, key to sales, and that is the concept of control, right? Who controls the sale? And most of the time, if you're honest with yourself, you'll realize the person who controls the sale is your prospect, right? And I was taught this early on in my sales career that, follow the golden rule. He with the gold rules, which is a freaking terrible way to sell when you allow your buyer to drive whatever the sale is, because they're not going to play fair. They're not going to play fair. If they control it, they may not buy the right thing. Oftentimes, they don't even know what their real problem is that they're trying to solve. They're solving symptoms, and they'll focus on price, right? Now, this is salespeople's fault, because everybody says about the same thing, right? We all say, I got better service, better quality, better people, better whatever, right? Everybody says the same. Have you ever caught yourself saying that? Watch me buy from you. Well, we got better service, better quality, better people. Like you've actually got some freaking better DNA in your people than everybody else has in their own people. It's bullshit, right? And by the way, who says, well, our quality sucks and our people suck and our value sucks, right? I mean, nobody says that shit. Everybody says about the same thing. And so buyers are left to their own devices. What's the only thing that's different between them? If everybody says they're the best, is price. All right, well, this one's $12 and this one's $10. This one's $8. Some people just have to buy the cheapest. And by the way, those are your shittiest customers. If they have to buy the cheapest, they're going to want the best everything from you, but they don't want to pay anything for it. Those people are terrible. Then the others, I don't know what percentage of the crowd this is, but some percentage of the crowd will go, don't want the $8 one that's probably shitty. So the 12 and the 10, I don't want to be stupid. I don't want to pay too much. Maybe I'll try and negotiate the $12 guy down to the $10 guy. And if I get it close enough, I'll buy the $12 option at a lower price, or I'll just pick the 10. Well, think about yourself and what you sell. Is that the best way to pick what you're going to buy based upon that? Well, I don't think so. You may, but I promise it's costing you money. Your buyers aren't getting what they want. And that continues the theme of, well, all salespeople are liars. It's crazy. So let me tell you how this happens. This happens because salespeople are too nice. They're worried about that their prospect wouldn't like them. And so they give the prospect everything they want, which doesn't lead to the result that anybody really wants. So let me tell you what happens when you give in to the buyer, you follow their process, because by the way, they've developed a process so they can stay in control of the sale. There are 4 steps to it. Tell me if you recognize this. Step number 1 is they ask about price. Some version of want to know, hey, how much does this cost? That's where the thing starts, right? What would it cost if, just give me roundabout figures, blah, blah, blah. First step, ask about price. Why? It's the only thing they can really compare. Why would they not start there? So if you make it past gate number 1, you go to gate number 2, which is maybe they invite you in or some version of meeting with them, showing them your product, doing a demo, whatever that is in your world. They invite you in. And so then they're pretty nice, asking you questions, maybe engaged, seeming interested, asking you a bunch of things. And you're happy to give them the information because, by God, you've studied all this stuff and somebody's interested. I will tell them everything they want to know. And then they might say, how about put that in writing? Make sure that we can get everything down on paper. Make sure I really understand what we're talking about. So you go do that. And that can take anywhere from, 5 minutes to, it could be hours and hours and hours and weeks of multiple people working on a proposal. So step number 1 is ask about price. Step number 2 is get free consulting. Now, this may go over 2 or 3 meetings, but they get free consulting. And so you go and present all this stuff. And this is where you think, okay, I'm going to overcome their objections. They're going to buy. This is going to be great. So you go and maybe you present, maybe you're a total retard and you go and just email your proposal, hope they call you back. So you go over it with them, presumably. And then they say, wow, this really looks great. Love what you've done here. And you're ready for the objection, right? You're ready for it. And they say, really, you guys are super smart. Love what you've come up with here. I think you have some definite advantages we need to consider. All in all things considered, apples to apples, can't see any reason we wouldn't give you guys a really good shot. However, I need to sleep on this big decision, or my partner's out of town, or I need to run this by the board, or we need to think about this, or maybe even, hey, we're talking to some other people as well. Sometimes that's the first time you've heard that. So step number 1, ask about price. Step number 2, get free consulting. Step number 3 is say nice things and get rid of you, because the end of all the compliments is, why don't you call me back in a week? Or let's talk in 2 weeks, or whatever that is. Call me back at the end of the quarter or whatever, after the first of the year, when my partner comes back in town. And so if you're kind of a wimpy salesperson and you're just following their process and you haven't made any other plans, you make a note, you say, thank you very much. And you go back to your office and you tell the boss, I think I got one. And you might even put it in your CRM at 75% or 90%, right? And you go to the sales meeting and your boss said, how'd that meeting go with ABC company? You go, it was great. They love me. Boss, we got a relationship. I can see us going to Clemson games together, blah, 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 blah. Boss goes, great. Where's the contract? You say, well, his partner's out of town, but he said his partner does everything he said, or his boss said he'll just listen to him. So it's fine. The boss is out of town. He'll be in soon. So this Friday is supposed to call him 90% in the CRM. All good. Boss goes, great. So you're supposed to call him Friday morning. Thursday, you're very excited. Put it on your calendar. It's right there. You're preparing your talk. What you going to do? Next morning, you don't want to call too early because, you don't want to seem too eager. You want to let them get in and get settled. But you don't want to call too late either because they may have gone. You want to make sure you let them know how important it is to you, how much you want the deal. So then you call somewhere between 11 and 12 because you know what? That's the best time to call back before they go to lunch. They've already settled in, blah, blah, blah. That's what we tell ourselves. So we call back. Phone rings. The guy looks down and he goes, oh, shit, it's Walker calling. Damn, I told him I was going to talk to him, but, we've decided not to do anything, or we figured out how to do this on our own. It's great for him to give me all that information. We can do this on our own. Or we sent it over to Joe, the guy we normally work with. He says he can do that, so I'm going to buy from Joe. And so he sends you to voicemail. And your heart dies a little bit, and you're like, okay, voicemail. Well, obviously busy. He'll call me back. You say, oh, hello, Mr. Prospect. This is Walker. I'm just calling to make sure that everything's okay and that your partner liked what we had and wanted to see if you had any questions. Look forward to talking to you. Look forward to working with you. Thanks a lot. Click. No call back. So Monday, maybe Tuesday, you call him back. A little more urgency. Maybe you call first thing in the morning trying to catch him. And he sees it's you calling. And he says, oh, shit. It's Walker calling again. I'm really not going to work with him, and I really don't feel like having this conversation this morning, so I'm going to send him a voicemail. So you hear the voicemail come up. Your heart dies a little bit more, and you're like, hello, Mr. Prospect, just calling to see if you had any questions. We're ready to get going here. Need to hear from you so we can get this order in and, get you set up and whatever, blah, 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 blah. Look forward to talking to you. Thanks. Hope you had a nice weekend. Click. Kind of pissed. But maybe your timing was bad. You sure he'll call you back. Boss, you tell the boss, look, I'm trying to reach you. We're playing telephone tag. You tell the boss, just nobody's tagging you back. Then it's Wednesday, maybe Thursday. You hadn't heard anything. You're kind of pissed, a little bitter. But you call again because you're persistent. And that's what you're taught. Being in sales, you got to be persistent. So you call back. Doesn't matter what time. And the guy sees us you calling again and says, what the hell? Why didn't this guy get a clue? I am not going to buy from him. And almost angrily, he sends you to voicemail. and you get voicemail for the third time. And you're like, shit, it's happened again. And you leave a voice message and you're a little bit angry and you say, hey, Mr. Prospect, this is Walker. I'm just calling to touch base. Wanted to see what's going on. Want to get you started with this thing. It's time. We really need to get this order in. Otherwise, we can't hold this pricing. Or maybe we can make you a better deal. I talked to my boss. Might be able to cut you a special deal. How about let me know what you want to do? Look forward to talking to you. And yeah, great game this past weekend. I hope you enjoyed it. Click. So right now, you, the sales guy, are bummed out because it's happened again. You've been caught. You've been ghosted. You've been left in the dust again. And you can't believe it's happened to you again. This time was going to be different. This guy really liked you. You gave him everything he wanted. What happened? How could this happen again? I mean, that sucks. That ever happened to you? If you've been in sales more than about 10 minutes, it probably has. Here's the better question. You ever done that to somebody else? You ever been the buyer and you used exactly those steps to stay in control? Made you feel better, right? It's like walking into a store and the clerk says, hey, how can I help you? And you're like, nope, just looking. And what you're looking at, you see something you like, and then you're going to turn over and look at the price tag. And if you like the price tag, then you might engage with somebody, right? You start with, what's the price? Don't want to talk to you till then. Your buyer has all the control. Ultimately, they're probably not getting what they need because they bought based purely on price, or they just went the old route again. They told Joe that you promised him $8 and what you said was 10. And Joe had to deliver for 8. He swore he could because of the relationship. He can't do what you were going to do. Nobody wins. Absolutely nobody wins. You need to have your own system that keeps you in control, or at least 50% control. All you can control is that you show up and that your prospect tells you yes or no. And I don't mean they have to buy in 1 meeting or 2 meetings or even 3 meetings. But at the end of each meeting, there needs to be an agreement, or actually the beginning of every meeting needs to be an agreement of what's going to happen at the end of the meeting, yes or no. Whether or not I'm going to create a proposal, whether or not you're going to hire me to do some kind of a study, whether or not we're going to meet with the person, with the whole committee who can make the decision. That's how you stay in control. There's a whole lot in the middle, but you got to get an agreement before you go of what's supposed to happen next. It's not if I do this, will you say yes? It's if I'm okay doing this, will you tell me whether or not we can take another step where both of us have some skin in the game? I'm Walker McKay with No BS Sales. I talk a lot about this in my new book, Some Will, Some Won't, So What, Who's Next? You can get it on Amazon or a local bookstore in Columbia, all good books. Thanks for listening. Share this with somebody else who needs to hear it. Go buy the book. Maybe give it to somebody else who needs to read it. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast. If you're struggling to close deals, then I want to invite you to take my free mini course where you'll learn the 7 most expensive sales mistakes that will cost you time, money, and credibility. So be sure to click the link in the show notes or go to www.7salesmistakes.com. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast.